Good evening. This is Wilson, November 6th Echo Mike Foxtrot, your net control operator for River City Arc's Slow Scan TV Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. The River City Arcs members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
L7HQR, New in Antelope.
Alpha India 6 Delta Golf in Florida.
This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta Carroll, Citrus Heights.
All right, well, so far I got Neil, KL7HQR. Thanks for checking in, and good evening, Neil. Alpha India 6 Delta Golf, Joel, and KP4, or Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta, Carol. I want to thank you all again for checking in. And this is, I guess I'll check myself in, November 6th Echo Mike Foxtrot. And we have, let's say, 4 folks on the cast this evening. Any other check-ins?
KL7HQR. Bob intended to be here, but PG&E cut his power, and he didn't think he could make it with just battery power. So unfortunately, he won't be here. KL7HQR.
All right, well, thanks for that, Neil. I think I got caught off guard with my SSTV once again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stall a little bit and see if I could have someone else kick off the first round of transmission. Neil, I'm going to call on you if you're ready. I can ask for KL7HQR to transmit a photo if you're ready. If not, let me know. Thank you.
Roger, we'll try to do this on BD120, KL7HQR.
that looks really good. November 6th, Echo Mike Foxtrot has copied the photo from Neil, KL7HQR, and without taking the fun away from this photo for others, I just want to say that I could see that you're probably back out at Bob's place, N6PGQ, and that it just really is an amazing photograph. Somehow my SSTV resumed work and is doing its job now, at least on the receive side. I need to test for transmit, but it looks like Neil there in a straw hat, maybe. Is that Neil possibly in a straw hat, or no? It isn't. It's Bob, I think. But anyway, the photo image of the individual's face is not clear, so my apologies. I'm pretty sure that's not Neil. But looks like somebody's making progress on an antenna, and Bob's a real trooper operating on battery, so I'd like to hear more from Neil when we get a chance. Joel, AI6DG, I'll be calling on you. Did you copy the photo?
Yes, I did, and excellent reception. Relatively few PayPods pops. So we're in the backyard of a house out in the country, because those are fields. There are no other houses anywhere near here. And we've got a couple of sawhorses set up on top of tarps with a beam across the sawhorses. And I can't really tell the specifics about the beam, although I don't think it's a stepper, but it looks like it's a multi-band, 2 or 3 element. I find it interesting that you've got the tarp laid out. I'm wondering if that's to catch nuts and bolts and screws and things that might get dropped into the grass so that you can find them rather than them falling into the void. The same place all of the lost socks go to. But I'm looking for a tower. I don't see a tower, although I wonder what that is in the background off to the left. It looks like it might be the base of a tower, but where's the rest of it? So maybe it's not a tower. Maybe it's just a pump for a well pump. And we got green grass, so it must have been early in the season. Either that or this is very well irrigated. Back to net, AI6DG.
All right, well, nice description, Joel. I just had to restart my machine, and I think that might help, so we'll see. Turn it over to Carol, KP4MD.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. Yep, I recognize that picture. As a matter of fact, I was up there just this past week, and saw both Bob and Neil working on that step IR antenna. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. That base of the tower in the back. If you listened on one of the nets earlier on 2 meters, you will know that the tower has not yet been delivered, the repair tower. So back to net, this is KP4 Mike Delta.
All right, well, thank you for that. I have a question someone I'm pretty sure will know. What is implied by step IR?
I'll let you know when we talk about the picture of KL7HQR.
Oh, okay, yeah, very good. I think we have made our way through the list. I'm still rebooting, and so I'll turn it over to you, Neil. You're up, KL7HQR.
Roger, KL7HQR. I think everybody got it right, and as Carol indicated, we had a pleasure to have her visiting us there on Sunday, or Saturday. I think it was Saturday that she came by. We took a break on Sunday. The reason for this picture is this is a complete antenna. This was taken Monday at about 1 p.m., and that was after we ran the final tests, and everything passed with flying colors. And so this is one for Bob's archives. when the tower came down, it folded exactly in half. So the boom, which you can see from front to back there over the tarp, is 19 feet long, hit the ground and broke. And two of the, we call them trombones, two halves of the trombone behind Bob broke down completely. So the task was to rebuild them. And Bob ordered the parts received, and we rebuilt. And it's an interesting antenna. It's called we call them step IR. I do too. But the factory called them steppers because they work on stepping motors. As you can see at the center of each of the elements, there is a motorized device, and there is a tape, a copper tape that is wound in drums at each place. So as you tune the antenna, the tape is through a stepping motor is released and extended inside those fiberglass tubes to the exact dimensions. Let me break for a second. And the one that's near Bob is the director, and behind him is the driven element. Actually, all of them can be driven elements. And then the third element way back is the reflector. In some bands, the tape will go all the way around, and the antenna can be changed 180 degrees just by changing the length of the devices. On the back, as Carol indicated, is the base of the tower. That is the device that is used to crank raise and lower the tower. To put the tower from horizontal to a vertical position, and that tower is cranked up with a motor. And tower should be back at about mid-May. So, the tarp is exactly as Joel said, is to catch nuts and screws, and boy, it saves us a lot of time. Back to that.
All right, well, thanks for that, Neil. I like the tarp idea. I think I know many applications for such a tarp situation. So nice work, and it's really nice that you were able to lend Bob a hand so many times getting this back together. So any other points or questions, comments for Neil's work? And
Questions?
Go ahead, Joel.
So the tower, I take it, is a tilt up, not a crank up, and that what I see in the background is kind of the gin pole to crank it from horizontal up to vertical. And the next question is, I take it not all the steppers have that little U shape where the long ones go out and come back in. I take it this is one of a different design where they just go out and in. There's no U at the end.
Scale 7 HQR. Yeah, you're correct. First of all, the tower that Bob has is a 4-section, 75 feet tall crank up. That device will raise the nested tower from a horizontal to a vertical position. Then once it's secured and bolted, then that becomes, it just goes to rest. And he has a motorized device that will raise the 4 sections all the way up. That's why he's looking for a gem pole, because this thing is very large. And the reason I was there with Bob, it was fun. We had a great time. And Bob spent the time helping me put my antenna. Mine has the equivalent of just one of these trombones. It's called the urban beam. And you're correct, Joe. Some of the steppers have a single direction. They do not turn around. So I think those are your questions. If I forgot anything, let me know. Back to that.
Thanks for explaining that, Neil. Did you have any other items, Joel?
That's it. Cool. I'd love to have the room and the infrastructure to be able to put up a tower for a stepper. Where I am, anything I put would have to be on the roof, and that's to be pretty lightweight. So, not to mention, even the bottom end steppers are pretty expensive, which shouldn't be that much of a deterrent. But when I've got no place to put it, it really puts the cap on the negative answer. very, very interesting antennas, though, with the concept of rather than having fixed elements for each band, adjusting the elements dynamically to the band that you want to tune to. So it's a great idea. Anyway, back to Net AI6DG.
A comment?
Go ahead, Neil.
Actually, it's more than that, Joel. It adjusts to every. You can set it down to 5 kilohertz, and as you change frequencies, the antenna is adjusting back and forth dynamically within the band, so it's pretty good. Okay, back to Nat, and we're ready to receive.
Okay, nice. Let me try to do a quick tone check while I'm here and see how successful I can be. One moment. Did I make it through with tone?
We got an audio, not too loud, but we got an audio.
All right, then. So what I'll do at this point is turn it over to Joel, Alpha India 6 Delta Golf. If you're ready to transmit, I'll be listening.
PD 120.
All right, Joel, AI6DG, I was able to copy your photo. It's substantially kind of sort of monotone in color, lots of sort of a rock landscape and a rock, maybe desert sort of landscape again, and looks like you've got a sort of tripod on a surface there, maybe a tent in the foreground, a couple tents in the background. You got your, but yeah, so essentially the photograph came in pretty good with a few pixel pops. I had a horizontal stripe of some kind of multicolored noise about through the middle of the photograph. And so, interesting. Is this Earth? All right, Joel, thank you. Let me turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR.
KL7HQR. Yeah, got a good copy on the photo. As a matter of fact, looking at Carol's copy, I think mine was a little bit even better than hers. But yes, it looks like a very arid area with lots of rocks and some boulders and rocks. And there's a greenish, army greenish tent in the foreground, a very small tent, tripod, white, orange, and dark tent on the left side, and apparently a couple other tents on the right-hand side. Because of the tents, first I thought it was a little bit of a picture of some of the tent camping that we see around town now. But then when I see that it's so arid, what I'm thinking is Joe goes camping all the time. I think he was just went to see. Well, that tripod in the middle is not tripod. I think it's a picture of ingenuity in Mars. And this picture was taken from the wrong angle because it shows that really there was a lot of people there. But I wonder if he is part of the committee that is working on that. Oh, joking aside, good copy, good picture, and I'm curious to know where this is. It's so arid. Back to Matt.
You almost got me there, Neil. Thank you, sir. All right, so let's see. Carol, Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. Well, everybody sees what I received on YouTube. And I think this is the outside of the tent that that Joel shared last week. He took a picture inside the tent with the sleeping bag all messed up and stuff. So it looks like there are a number of other tents in the background. So apparently he had some company up there when he camped overnight wherever this was, this barren landscape. I would, if it wasn't for those tents there, I might say it would be like the Mars, except that Mars is a little redder. So back to Net. This is KP4MD.
Yeah, very good. So, yeah, I think I'll turn it over to Joel, Alpha India 6 Delta Golf. Tell us.
Well, I've got some really weird distortion going on at the moment, so I might explain some of the strange noise bars. I'm not sure if it was something received by the receiver or if it's what I sent due to something going on with my audio system on my end. Hopefully you guys are hearing me okay.
We're doing pretty good on the receive with your audio. I think pretty normal. There's some, I can't remember what I heard now, but there's a popping sound that I think we're all getting.
No, I was getting some weird distortion from like packet loss or something on my end. But okay, so this is a continuation of last week. So the tent that we were looking inside of last week is that green tent that's on the lower mid right. And this is my camp. That is a tripod with the camera on it. And the white thing sitting next to the tripod on the right is actually a battery that I was using to operate the camera. And I was, at this point, actually taking a time-lapse of the side of the mountain in the far background and up above our field of view. This is Mount Whitney. This is along the trail on Mount Whitney. This particular area is called Trail Camp. This is about 12,000 feet, well above the tree line, so there's basically no soil at this point. It's all either bare slabs of granite or decomposed granite, sand, and gravel. In fact, all of the background, the top a quarter or so of the photo, particularly on the right side, is a granite talus slope, moraine, terminal moraine slope, where the trail is going up. So this is one of the few flat spots. There's only two places along the trail you're supposed to camp. This one at 12,000 feet, and another one a mile or two further down the mountain at 10,000 feet that's called Outpost Camp. And in reality, there's relatively few places that are flat enough where you could camp. Although there are a few, and in emergencies, I think it's okay for you to camp there. But unless otherwise, you're supposed to just camp the two places I just mentioned. So this is a widening, a flat. There's a little lake or pond off to the right out of the field of view. This being at 12,000 feet is about the edge where there's a lot of people as they proceed up the trail from here start having altitude sickness issues. The section of trail past this is called 99 switchbacks because you're basically switching back and forth and back and forth and back and forth up a metallus slope up to the next major point, which is called Trail Crest, which is basically the pass that then goes into the next valley over to the west, and that's also the border between Whitney Zone, which I believe is either state operated or national forest operated, and the other side to the west, you're in Kings Canyon, Sequoia National Park area. So it's a jurisdictional issue sometimes when they have to do search and rescue as to which side of that ridge you're on. But you're climbing from 12,000, which is already high enough to give a lot of people a problem, up to 13,000 feet, which is definitely high enough to give people problems. So some people that turn back for one reason or another. Could be you're feeling sick, could be you're tired, or you run out of time. Let's see. So this particular trip, I actually was taking pictures as night fell of people on 99 switchback section of trail, particularly after dark, when you could see their headlights zigzagging back and forth down the mountain. And it was actually a problem the next day because I went up onto the top of an adjacent peak and was trying to do a gigapan, which is where I take thousands of pictures that are on a head that moves a little bit between each photo, and then when you get home, you can stitch them all together into a huge high-resolution panorama. And I'd exhausted the battery I had the day before doing this time lapse that you see me in the middle of. So I ended up having to manually take photos at a lower resolution, and I was there for an hour or two and got an incredibly bad sunburn on my knee as the sun shined down on and through a hole in my pants. One of the worst sunburns I've ever had. Fun things that can go wrong. Anyway, this is an amazing spot. It's amazing to be at altitude. You can be freezing on one side and baking on the other because the air can be cold, but the sun is so intense that it heats you on one side and not the other. When the sun goes down, pull out the jackets because it gets really cold really quick. That's enough. Back to net. AI6DG.
I was thinking you talked about the 99 switchbacks, and what came to mind was maybe the reason why it's 99 switchbacks because you faint, and when you count after 99, you're done. Wow, what an amazing, could be a harrowing experience for some folks, I suppose. You must be aware of what you're doing and aware of your capabilities and overall health, and if you're not, you're in trouble. That's my comment to that. So, yeah. Any other points or questions?
Kill 7H2R.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just to finish with the first part, Carol mentioned about not being Mars, but I went to the market the other day and I got some salmon, and it says color added. So I don't know. Mars may have that. But Joel, a couple of questions. First of all, I'm impressed that of the places you go and how much you go. how high you go and how much you hike. Um, how high can you drive? In other words, where do you start actually the hiking? Because it's quite impressive to go up to 13,000 feet. I've been up over 13,000 in Hawaii on Mauna Kea there in the observatory, but we ride over there, and they stop at 9,500 for about an hour and a half to 2 hours for people to get used to it, and then we drive up. And for you to climb up there, congratulations, my friend. So, how much of a hike is it?
Geez, details. Well, on this particular, the Mount Whitney trailhead, the portal is at 8,000 feet. I think there's a nearby trailhead that's higher than that. I'm trying to remember the name. I'm not remembering. The White Mountain trailhead, I think, is 12,000 feet, but that's a dirt gravel road to get up to that point. I think that's also the area where they've got the bristlecone pines, you know, Methuselah tree, the oldest tree in the world. And I don't do this very often, and I'm not a huge nut in terms of what I can do. There are people that I think they give out 200-day permits for the Whitney Trail per day. So you've got, you know, like 200 people trying to day hike it. I don't day hike this. I make this 2 or 3, or maybe even 4 days. So that helps me in terms of being on the trail multiple days and having a chance to acclimate. And acclimation is key. Excellent health is actually not a good indicator, and if anything, it hinders, because then you're able to gain more altitude quicker, and the body doesn't get a chance to acclimate. So, and the comment about knowing yourself is very on point, because if you've not done this before, and there's a lot of people that go from sea level up to 8,000 feet to do the trailhead and try day hiking it, and if they're not familiar with how their body treats the altitude, if they've never been it and they're trying to day hike it and they don't know the signs, they can get into trouble, because one of the effects can be loss of mental acuity, and if you don't realize it. One common or not uncommon issue is once you get up to trail crest at 13,000 feet, you actually go downhill a little bit, get to a trail junction. One direction goes down further into the wilderness, the other direction goes uphill towards the summit. And if you're not familiar with the trail, or you're not running on all cylinders, you get to that junction, and there have been people who think, oh, I'm heading down towards the trailhead. I'm at this junction. I'm going to head to the right and head downhill, which takes them further into the wilderness instead of them heading to the left and climbing up towards trail crest, then back down towards the trailhead and out. But this has potential to be deadly. The altitude does very much negatively affect some people.
Who would have thought a negative correlation between good health and survivability or wellness while you're going up there? All right, well, that's pretty interesting, and thanks, Joel, for being so articulate with all the details. It's a lot to think about. So, you know, before jumping out there, at least I'll have these items in the back of my head that I should try to take on too much without really knowing what the lay of the land is, maybe even talking to people. That's great. So let's see, we have Neil has sent his, and Joel, Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta is maybe ready to transmit anytime if there's no other comments on Joel.
Yeah, I believe you doubled over Joel's transmission. Joel, go right ahead if that was the. Okay, nothing heard, but most of that transmission was a double, and you came out on top, Wilson. Over.
I can only guess that I may have doubled on top of Joel. Joel, were you out there were you transmitting?
Yes, when I came off, I heard the last part of your transmission. Sorry about that.
Oh, my apologies. Go right ahead. Did you have any follow-up? Any points to make?
To summarize, if you know your limits and you're going slow, you take multiple days. You get a chance to acclimate. It's the healthy people that damn their torpedoes and just zoom up the hill that can run into issues. So yeah, it sounds counter, but there is logic to it. But back to Net AS6TG.
All right. Well, very good. Carol, if you're ready, go ahead and transmit.
Okay, yeah, we're going to be sending this picture PD 120, and here it goes. KP4 Mike Delta.
All right. I was able to copy the photo of a two-story family or home, and on top of the roof is a tripod-type antenna mount with a mast supporting a beam, maybe a three-element beam antenna, I suppose. And wow, it's something else up there. But I don't recognize the home. Doesn't look like PGQ's home. But anyway, a gray house with the 2 stories and landscape view. Nice, strong, healthy antenna there. That's my perspective. Turning it over to Neil, KL7HQR.
Roger, KL7HQR. Very good copy here. A couple of artifacts in this print. And I think Carol got it better than I did this time. But it's still very, very good copy, no problem. I saw this picture. Carol sent us that picture. She showed us when she came to visit us at Bob's on Saturday. It's an antenna fairly similar to Bob's. This is the DB18, and Bob's is a DB18E, which has 3 of those trombones instead of 2. But I believe that the boom is the same, is 19 feet long, same as Bob, and each element is 39 feet long. And the difference is that this has the 2 trombones, and one is one of those things that I think that you're talking about, that the other stepper, that's just a one-way tape. And I believe it also covers 6 through 10, like Bob does. But I know that Kara's going to make some additional comments on this that makes it very interesting. Back to that.
These antennas, they look fantastic. They look really prominent too. I mean, you drive by, and you know somebody lives there. This is a great photo. So turn it over to Joel. Thanks, Neil. AI60G, go right ahead.
I've got 2 screens here. I'm looking at a full screen of what I received, and then I'm looking at the YouTube channel, and I didn't receive it anywhere near as well as Carol did for the YouTube stream. I've got a bar kind of across the middle, right about where the rotor is, so I can't see the full detail of the rotor. And I've got some pops, but I keep talking about with me the moire pattern. But I've also got some pops on the bottom part. I wonder if I just don't receive the repeater as strongly as Carol does. Anyway, also, okay, so we've got like a Glenn Martin style of tripod with rotor in it, and on top of that, maybe a, I don't know, 5 or 10 foot mast, which is actually probably the recommended maximum for that tripod. And we've got the stepper kind of in the middle of that mast, and it's the style of stepper with the U elements. So I guess when they're really long, they go out and come back in the other side. So I guess it's kind of a folded element beam. And I can't really tell what's on the top of it, but I'm assuming we have some dipoles or something up there. Things that I'm surprised by is one that the tripod on the first story rather than the second story, because then it would get up higher, as well as not being, as well as eliminating the gutters, flashing, and so forth in the near field of the antenna. Okay, so I look forward to hearing more. Back to Net AI60G.
All right, Joel, thank you. And let's see. Kilo Pop 4 Mike Delta, I think you're up.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD, and I was inspired to share this picture because Joel said he didn't have the space to put up a step-IR or stepper antenna, and here is one of those stepper antennas, which is very similar in size to the one that Bob has, and it's on top of a standard private home with just a tripod. Actually, this is here in Sacramento. I'm not going to mention who it belongs to. It's probably a ham that we all know. The shack actually is right inside that window that's right next to the tripod. So when he turns the rotor, he can hear it very, very loudly outside the window while it's turning. And when he puts his amplifier on, I wonder if he's within a safe range of RF exposure distance-wise from those elements that are directly above the shack there. That's just a thought. But Joel, if you had a house at anything of this particular size, or maybe even smaller, a step IR is still a possibility for you. That's what I wanted to say, and this was quite impressive. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
All right, that photograph is full of encouragement for folks that want something like that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that to us this evening, Carol. Lots of encouragement there. Definitely okay for QRP for safety, but I see what you mean with having an amp that close to the, or rather the elements that close to the shack and running high power through there would probably have some points of concern. But that's just me speculating. And any other comments or questions? I want to hear from Joel specifically.
Well, it's worth some thought and considerations that, like, there's always alternatives and different ways of looking at what you can and can't do. I'm wanting to put things further up off the roof, which I guess I could do. Anyway, it would, I would have to adjust things and do things differently, but it's possible. I'm planning on doing a very similar setup to this, only having two 10-foot sections of PVC pipe on top of the mast, and on top of that a very lightweight hex beam, which, well, we'll see. I'm looking forward to giving it a try. But the stepper is considerably heavier, so I'd have to obviously change things, either not use PVC or not put it as far up. But I guess that would work. I mean, obviously, if this works, that would work. So I could use this one section 10 feet up, PVC or metal mast, and use a similar setup to this. So probably would work, yeah. Back to net, the I6DG.
KP4MD. I don't think PVC would hold that. That antenna is quite heavy. It's got two motors on the boom. By the way, above the stepper is there's a small vertical VHF antenna. It's actually a called a log periodic. You see that it's pointing to the upper right-hand corner there. You just see the reflection off that over.
Right, I recognized something up there, but couldn't tell from this light angle and perspective. But thanks for that. Log periodic VHF antenna, and well, that's great. So, how about Joel? Or rather Neil? Did you have anything? KL7HQR? Did you want to have any questions or any comments?
No, this is very clear. As Kara mentioned, in this antenna there is actually four motors. In each section of the trombone there is a motor that carries the tape. So no, in this one here, she is correct. It's only two motors, and the other just return tubes. So Bob has three motors. So my apologies. So nope, perfectly clear, and good picture, good discussion. Back to that.
Yeah, well, that's it just kind of brings something to mind for me. Thanks, Neil. I'm going to be experimenting with some in-fed antennas, as you suggested early on when you and I first met, Neil. So I've got some balins for that, or balans rather, and I'm going to be feeding some hopefully soon. So encouragement here for antenna work. Okay, well, I'm going to send a photo now, and I'll see if I can get it out PD 120. November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot sends PD 120. right, this is November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, and my transmission is complete. We'll turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR. Were you able to copy my photo?
Yes, the KL7 is your copy. It looks like a good copy of a moose. Way too close for comfort. It looks like it is in a very green area, a grassy area with some water lake on the background, beautiful blue skies. The details in the pictures are not very sharp, but I don't know where this picture was obtained. I hope you got it from the internet and you didn't take it yourself. A little bit too close for comfort. When I was in Alaska, I seen many of these animals, and I have eaten moose sausage. But talking to the mushers, I used to go and run the Iditarod race. There were two animals that they really, really respected. One was the wolverine, and the other one was the moose. And you don't want them to get them mad at you. But good copy, good picture. Back to net, KL7HQR.
All right, chuckle. Thank you, Neil, for that. Appreciate your comments, questions. AI6DG, go right ahead, Joel.
Yeah, moose are big, big enough that I imagine that they could hurt you and not even know that you were there. But I see a metal sculpture of a moose. It looks like it's in a park because in the background on the right I see what looks like a walkway and maybe a picnic table or benches with a street or road and a house or a building of some kind, right? Just poking its head out from the right side of the antlers. So it looks like there's a fence or just to the left, off the nose of the moose, and maybe some berries or ivy or something growing up the side of the sculpture on the right side. And a big pine tree or something off to the extreme upper left, and the branches coming down on the upper left. So I'm curious where this is. Is this some park here in town or somewhere else? Or back to net, AS6DG.
All right, I'm not sure if I'll get all the questions answered, but I'll give it a shot. Yeah, thanks, Joel. Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta. Go right ahead, Carol. Were you able to copy?
Yes, you see on YouTube what I received here, and gee, I thought it was a real moose, but looking closer, yep, it does look like a sculpture. Yeah, it's very clear now. If you look at the legs of the animal, they're straight poles. Okay. Um, Interesting. I'd like to know where this picture was taken. Interesting sculpture. Back to net. This is KP for MT.
All right, well, thanks for the comments and the questions. November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot. Basically, I was in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and was there on business. This is about 6 years ago, and was staying in a hotel right next to the Snake River, which has that whole thing there has something called a Idaho Falls Greenbelt, which is sort of you can walk both sides of the river, and it's just a spectacular walk. If you're ever in the area, it's a must-do kind of experience. I'd highly recommend. Something you must do is to walk that Greenbelt. It's just spectacular beauty there. There's some inverted waterfalls. I don't know if I call it inverted waterfall. I think I'm confused. But the river in the background you see is called the Snake River. I have a few other photographs of the area. And this is a sculpted moose, or rather a sculpted either elk or reindeer. And I'm not sure which one it is, but I want to call it a reindeer. And what you're seeing here is just like Joel said, it has has like iron strips of metal that's used to make up the head, and it's got vegetation covering the body, like little bush-type plant material or whatever, but the legs are wooden and so on. But I was walking along this trail and took a snapshot of this reindeer, and this isn't the actual photo that I took, but I realized that for whatever reason the light conditions or the angle just wasn't good enough for SSTV, so I wasn't able to use the photo I actually took, and found one online that was a little bit better, and was able to figure out how to get it on the air tonight. So let's see if I hit all the questions. Could be a moose, not sure, but it's definitely not real. It's artwork. It's Snake River, Idaho Falls, and there's lots of other beautiful things to see along these trails on both sides of the river. So if you're ever that way, if you've ever been out that way, you might know what it is now, or check it out next time you're there. I think that's all I can think of, but that vegetation, I guess we call that garnish, is covering the loin and the brisket. All right, any comments or questions?
Thanks for the clarification. Apparently, I thought my copy was better than it is, since I did not catch that it was picture. Now that you mention it, thank you.
All right, well, something to send, something to share. I'm inspired by landscape photography right now, so here's one. If nothing else, let me know.
Quick comment. It looks like a moose to me, but I mean, ultimately it's in the eye of the artist. I don't know if there's any other critters that have horns or antlers like that are solid, filled in between like that.
That's a good point. I can't identify these kinds of animals. I'm not up on elk and deer and moose. I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them.
Another way to distinguish it is if you look at their paws, they are big enough and wide enough they can actually run on top of snow in some cases. But here you don't have those for differentiation.
Moose sausage. Nice. And that's great. How does it taste? Like chicken?
To open up another window, and then I maximize that, so I've got it across one entire screen. So it really helps you pick out some of the details of what you're looking at.
There's a little bit of a double. Yeah, that's the way I look at every one of the pictures that we receive. I have it on full screen. So there's a little bit of double there. Back to next.
Oh no, I think I mentioned something about the moose sausage. Was it Neil that mentioned you had moose sausage?
For me, tastes a little bit like venison. No strong flavor. Obviously, it's not regular beef, but nothing objectionable. It was very tasty.
All right, well, Cass, I think we've had a wrap. Thanks, Neil. And let's see, if nothing else, I'm going to move to close out the net and express appreciation to Carol for keeping us live on YouTube, and want to give a shout out to the YouTube viewers out there that are observing and honoring our work. Thank you. And thanks to Joel and Neil and Carol for participating in tonight's net. We'll hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m. The net is officially closed here at 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time. Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, wishing all of you a good evening. 73.